There are times when I communicate and a word comes to mind, but the word doesn't come from my intellect. It actually comes from the Spirit of the Lord. And oftentimes word is very uncommon. And even if known, the definition may not be known at the time. I got out of bed this morning and the word ubiquitous came to mind. And I just like, okay, I actually looked up what the word ubiquitous means. And it means omnipresent, which is one of the characteristics of the Lord. There are times as Christians that we feel as if we need to go somewhere, do certain things in order to get into the Lord's presence. I'm kind of seeing why the Lord brought this up. But in order to get into the Lord's presence. Even like growing up in Jamaica, one of my issues with church is that there are times like people are going to a best dressed competition. And people are dressing up for church. And there are many people who are living in poverty. And I can just imagine how much money it costs to simply dress up to go to church. And a lot of times people like putting on their Sunday best in order to go to church to be with the Lord. But the thing is, whatsoever they're doing all throughout the week, the Lord is with them. As a Christian, not only is God omnipresent, meaning He's everywhere. As a Christian, God is also in you. So a lot of times people, they're seeking an experience. And for that, they'll go places and they'll do things to quote unquote get into the Lord's presence. When the fact is, the Lord is always with you. And also part of this message, no matter what you're going through, no matter how dire, no matter how lonely it may seem, God is with you. And of course, not only did the Lord give me a word and I looked up the meaning, but there's also scripture that ties to it. And it is from Psalm 139. And I'll read from verses 1 through 18. O Lord, Thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my downsitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but, lo, O Lord, Thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid Thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Whither shall I go from Thy Spirit, or whither shall I flee from Thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, Thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, Thou art there. I'll read this section again. But I'll actually save it for the end. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall Thy hand lead me, and Thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from Thee, but the night shineth as day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to Thee. For Thou hast possessed my reins, and hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise Thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are Thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from Thee, when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance. Yet, being unperfect, and in Thy book of all my members are written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are Thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with Thee. So David spoke about being fearfully and wonderfully made. Even when he was being fashioned in his mother's womb, the Lord is with him. The Lord knowing his thoughts even when they are far off. The Lord's knowledge about us is too wonderful even for us to understand. You are never alone. God is always with you. Even if you can't feel his presence, God is always with you. And as a child of God, God is in you. Which is a part of the reason why the scripture says, greater is he who is in us than one who is in the world. So again, regarding the word ubiquitous, which means omnipresent. In Psalm 139, this section, whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. There's nowhere you can go to escape from the Lord's presence. It also spoke about, surely the darkness shall cover me. The darkness shall cover me. So even if the enemy is swarmed around you, where all you can see is darkness, that darkness is as light unto the Most High God. So again, as a Christian, the Lord is always with you. And even better, he is in you. You cannot go anywhere to escape from his presence. You don't need to go somewhere to seek his presence, because he's always with you. And as scripture says, he will never leave or forsake you. I pray this message blesses you. And God bless you. And Jesus Christ, the one whom I love and serve, is Lord.